Hey, I'm Dukes on Twitch. If you want to support the channel and greensunzenith.com, you can find my Patreon, merch store, and singles store where you can buy singles through TCG Player or Card Hoarder in the video description. If you want to get in contact, you can also find all that info in the description below for things like donation deck lists or just wanting to reach out. Alright, let's get right into it. Yo, hey team, welcome back to Dukes on Twitch. Back today with some Abzan Maverick, one of my favorite decks, and a list that I'm still definitely tuning to the new metagame. It's been really cool to watch some of the Eternal Weekend action in the US, in Europe, and in Asia, and see a lot of green decks do well, or at least fight the fair fight. I believe at Eternal Weekend Europe, there were at least 4 green-white Splenzia Depths players, and all of them went 5-3. It's pretty sweet. And then I believe we also saw in Asia a few lists, but I do want to do a bit of a rundown as to what we saw, what were some of the lists that we saw, where was some of the spice. We saw a list with 4 sagas and only 1 depths in one stage, with 2 Green Sun Zenith, 3 Swords Plowshares with 1 on the sideboard. Some very cool builds. So I'm really looking forward to getting to that. But here in front of us we have Maverick. Obviously Maverick is a green-white based deck that typically splashes a color. Some versions don't and still perform quite well. But here we are splashing black for Orcish Bowmasters, Grist, and Thoughtseize. I'm also trying out a Decay and a Gaea in the board. Gaea is a pretty interesting one that I have played with in different metagames. I do like that it is removal in some matchups that sticks around. So against something like Delver, it's quite strong. Being able to deal with a DRC or a Delver or a token from the or a Steel Cutter, and then also the uptick being relevant as well on either an empty board or future turns is quite cool. And just, yeah, allows you to obviously have a little bit of impact there. So being able to have removal that sticks around is really nice, and just another way to combat what our opponents are doing. This is one of the first times as well I've played Library in the board. I do think with some of the decks like Eldrazi and Red Delver running around, it can just be a little bit hostile for Library, but I do like it in some matchups, so I do want to have access to it. And then Dryad Militant. I've played this card on and off in Death and Taxes, in Maverick. I think it's a pretty solid card for some of the matchups where we want that sort of ability. So obviously it's nice against decks like any sort of DRC or Murktide deck, obviously making it very hard for them to deal with that. It's obviously very strong against Ouphe spells because it exiles the Dread Return. It also gets rid of Dread Return out of Deathly Breakfast. Obviously a lot of Storm decks that interact with the graveyard, Dryad Militant's quite good against. It's quite good against Life from the Loam decks. If you deal with Dryad Militant with a card like Lightning Bolt, what'll happen is Lightning Bolt will resolve, it'll go to the graveyard and be exiled because Dryad Militant is there, and then stage-based actions will be checked, and then Dryad Militant will have 3 damage on it, and obviously leave the battlefield. So if your opponent does deal with it with, say, a Lightning Bolt, or back in the day a Punishing Fire, the Punishing Fire would be exiled before the Dryad Militant left play. That's kind of a cool little interaction. A Path as well. I just wanted to have another solid removal spell that was very versatile. So Murktide, Thought-Knot Seer, any sort of big Eldrazi. Path is just, yeah, really good at what it does. I also don't mind bringing it in against lands and siding outer swords, because a lot of the time against lands we are winning through combat. So them gaining 20 can sometimes be enough for them to go again with the combo. And Path is just quite nice as it deals the 20/20 without actually them getting the life. So that's pretty nice. Badgermole Cub is obviously a big card right now, but I think that Badgermole Cub makes a lot of our decent matchups already better. And I think that we don't get the full benefit of Badgermole, especially with the additional mana like Cradle Control does. I still really like Scythecat Cub, especially getting creatures out of Orcish Bowmaster range or potentially making non-boltable threats is really cool. So I think Cub's just really nice. Endurance is kind of like my Force of Will right now. I think in endurance is pretty strong, especially against Delver, so having access to the full 3 is quite nice. I nearly wanted to make room for a 4th, but I actually went down on Graveyard Hate. I took out my 2 Very Macabres, which can obviously be found with Once Upon a Time, just because there's not too much graveyard shenanigans running around that I really care about outside of endurance. And if there are faster decks, then we can obviously pivot, but I think for now I'm pretty happy with this. Safekeeper has just been really nice as the ability to have access to 5 Mother Runes in a way against decks where you really want to have access to Safekeeper. So if you can keep, say, a Teeg alive against any sort of Forge deck, obviously Ouphe is quite strong there as well, but yeah, sometimes you just want to have a sort of protect the queen strategy, and Safekeeper really allows you to do that, which is nice. That's pretty much it. We're going to go to some games, see how they play out. We were playing Legacy League with Abzan Mav. 3 points. Play. Cool. I feel like the format has slowed down just a little bit, especially with Entomb gone, which is nice, but you still have to respect those decks that are quite quick. And on the draw, against Urza, insane. Okay, I don't mind this hand. Obviously a lot of interaction, which is nice. Wastelands are pretty much spells here. And if my opponent is an Urza or colorless fan, potentially the Wastelands are going to be strong. We have access to all our colors, which is nice. Yeah, be happy to see where this goes. The Cub's been really nice. In a few different decks I've played with it. I know user Martin has been doing very well with Depths and is quite active in the Depths Discord and plays a version with Cub. They might have actually changed to a version with Badger Mob, which makes more sense in a Depths deck, of course, because you make a little bit more value out of it with your land strategy. But still, I find the 2-drop slot quite competitive, especially in Mav now, because there's no Thalies in the deck, which could definitely be there, especially with Cub, making sure you're good Flesh Breaker. Okay. So I think here we just want to get rid of the Flesh Breaker straight away. I feel like that's better than Wastelanding, but I will think about this. We Wasteland and they play at least something. Yeah, I think just getting this like a kill on sight kind of effect. Okay. Come on. Interesting. So they're just going for mana here. I'm pretty happy to go after the Saga here. One thought with the Scrubland play was actually go for Savannah so we could steal Green Suns for Dryad Arbor and build out our mana. But the Green Sun's going for potentially an Ouphe down the line would be cool. But I do like that if we did play Windswept Savannah Swords, untap, we then have Wasteland them and also Green Suns for Dryad Arbor. And then our Green Suns off the top are even better as well. having a pretty big think. Alright, Scry's one to the bottom. Hey, hope you're well. The follow. Let me know if you play Legacy. If you have local metagame. Still pretty happy here to go after their mana. And going after the Saga, obviously, because targets of Saga are quite strong. Especially Key, being able to untap that group. Access to 4 mana here. Access to 5 mana. Unfortunately, just a little bit slow. On the play, I think a different game, but this is probably a matchup where I do like the Force of Vigors. The Decay is quite interesting. Some mix of Thoughtseize and Deafening Silence. We can get Cub into play. Liquid Metal is going to be tough to get through, especially if they deal with the Cub as well. Feels like a key command. Interesting. I think we attack Khan here and see if they deal with the Cub or not. We have to go now because the one from the Bowmaster won't stop it. Okay. That's a start. I mean, next time we can Green Suns for either Ouphe potentially or Gaddock Teeg. Hey, Arwen, thanks for the follow. Hope you're well. Let me know if you have a local legacy scene, if you play a legacy yourself. Okay, there's the ring. And hit the token, which grows, of course. I mean, we might even be in a place where we can just win with Baloth, which is pretty insane. I think we can. 4, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, and they take 2 from the ring? Wow. That is... Wasteland here. We get the Cub. 1, 2, here. Four, and yeah, Baloth does it. Don't think there's a way here for them to get out of it. And even if they try to draw a card to get out of it, we have the Bowmaster. This is gonna be. Can Colligan's Command do anything? I don't think so. I don't think they can stifle this effect. They can try to get rid of the ring of the Bowmaster and then draw, but even then, yeah, nuts, insane. All right. Well, very interesting. I do love the Force of Vigors. I don't mind the Thought Seizers. More so on the play. I think we can easily say no. Like, Abrupt Decay is interesting, but maybe I'm not in a position where I want to be destroying things like Grim Monolith. Maybe I want to be in a position where I'm actually turning them off with, say, Collector Ouphe. I think the endurances are pretty easy to cut. Probably don't mind that. We do have Prismatic Endings. They're a little bit slow, though. There's a world where we like... we do want to have answers to Fleshraker. Path is also... I'm not sure if they even run a basic. I like the Gaddock Teeg. I like the Keen-Eye's great as just a really quick block. Same with the Cubs, Knights. I think like Safekeeper, keeping things alive. Could see actually like Karakas coming out. It's going down to 22 lands. A little bit low, but like we're bringing in a lot of 2-drops and free spells and only taking out 3-drops. I think we'll try this. Ending's definitely interesting. Maybe I like to have one ending. You have access to a lot of colors. Here is a pretty easy mulligan, just can't cast what we want. Pretty nice, but... Okay. Trip Wasteland. You might as well see where it goes. But it is tough if they have a Grim Monolith start. I'm happy to see how it plays. I'm happy to bottom a lot. Okay, pretty happy with that as a start. We are just going to wasteland this straight away. I guess we can do it in there. In case I have something. But actually, there isn't anything to play around, to be fair. It obviously means they have a tower, I feel. Okay. Like, Force of Vigor is a fantastic draw as it gives us a little bit of an out. Or something like a Grim start. They play another tomb and don't do anything, they're not going to be happy with the third wasteland. They had nothing last turn, so I feel like maybe they drew into... Yeah. Flush Raker? Oh, Tez. Okay. Assume it's going to be a key. Well, Lotus Petal. Still happy to go after their mana. Wow. Wow, that's huge. Can you imagine like a mana dork here? Just to be able to build out our own mana? Okay. I'm gonna go with Ignobled and find a Savannah. They pretty much have one turn, or else the Bowmaster here deals with the Tez. They almost want to play the Lotus Petal, but they don't. Wow, which also means we can attack the Tez. Interesting they didn't play the Petal. Play the land, and interesting spot. I think here I just want to get the Keen-Eyed down. Is it such a good threat? We do have the Decay for a glowing Flush Breaker. We have the Force of Vigor and Cub in case they have like a Grim Monolith. I can only assume that was the draw for turn. as they didn't play it to grow the Tez, knowing that we had an Exalted Creature in play. I think now it is sitting pretty. There's no double ups in the bin. There's Planeswalker, Land, and Artifact. So I think we just attack and hold it up either Decay here or Bowmasters. Play this, that's fine. Let's go after Planeswalker. So in the Bowmasters. There's also a super aggressive line of next turn just upkeep Force of Vigor, both of their mana rocks, even though the Mox Opal still can't produce anything. Or grow the Keen-Eyed here. 7, 8, 9. Wow. Yeah. And then honestly here, I'm just going to force them. Getting rid of the Scythecat Cub. I don't even want them having this mana here. And at least it is a 2 for 2. Gotta love this card. Yeah, I mean, triple waste. Very, very fortunate to have that opener. Obviously, a lot of starts from them that make it obsolete. Disruptive Flute, Monolith starts, as having a pretty good. But hey, a big thank you to all of you for coming in and watching. Very much appreciated. Looking forward to getting back more consistent streams. Yeah, that is fair enough. Some changes to the stream as well. I think there's more I could definitely be doing. Maybe redesign the layout. Get better. Maybe such a scrub. Alright. On the play, which is nice. Okay. Like Wasteland could be strong. The once can find a threat. Oh, we have no actual. We don't have great mana here unless we find it with the once. But I don't really want to keep this hand if we're just using the once to find an untapped green source. So I think there is a better 6. Okay, here we go. Keep this bottom the Lush. That way we could potentially get not an auto win, but do quite well off this Collector Ouphe. Obviously the Bowmasters is quite cool. Turn 2 4/4 Knight is also quite strong. I'm just going to go for a Savannah and then have all our colors online. Okay, typically once means it's going to be a fairish deck, which is kind of nice to see. Oh, maybe not. Maybe not. I couldn't have been more wrong, I think. Okay. Probably naming Endurance, if they are going to be like a Oops All Spells deck. No. Card left. Nice. Nice. So what's he is act. Hey team, very cool to see you. Thanks for checking in. Hope you're all doing well. Sadly going down here, I'm not too sure. I'm not too up to date with Oops. This all looks pretty familiar. Nothing out of the ordinary. Like essentially I can't think of the last time I've been thought seized by Oops. All right. Probably it's always good, I think, just to take, if you're playing MTGO, take a screenshot of a deck like this, go into Paint, and then just make sure you have it. Because you don't want to come back and be like, oh, were they playing Jack-O-Lantern, or were they playing the full 4 packs? Hogswalk is very cool in this sort of list as well. I've seen some lists move towards the Dryad Militant's going to get its time to shine. I've seen some lists move towards initiative post board, which is really interesting. We really like. I think I like the Deafening Silences. Like, they don't stop a lot of the non-creature spell to get a creature into play, but it does stop the Dread return on the same turn, which is nice. I like the Thought Seizers. I have seen like some versions with Leylander Void, but I think we just kind of play around it in a way. I think Icetill is just too slow. I think the Knights are probably just too slow. Teeg is great, obviously turning off Dread Return. Keen-Eyed's great. Baloth is probably not really needed here. Collector Ouphe is nice. They're obviously running the Moxen. Bowmasters isn't great, but does a little bit. Maybe the Kai because of Deafening Silence. If they can't go off in the same turn, it's kind of nice having that ability. Like I could just see, obviously, probably Grist, Bowmasters. Could come down on the swords as well to like 2. Force does hit Chrome Mox. Like, we can be very aggressive with Force of Vigor hitting Chrome Mox before they exile a card, so they can't actually tap it for mana. Have a quick thing. It really comes down to turn 1. What do we have turn 1? Let's just try. I think that's quite a loose sideboard plan. Like, we have Deafening Silence here, but we kind of need to find the white source of the once, which is a little bit risky. I don't mind. I don't mind just seeing how this goes, because the plan here is find either Savannah or a fetch land, get Savannah, play Deafening Silence. They most likely at least play a land, maybe tapped, but then the following turn we get to Wasteland it and also play the Noble. But then we do need a black source for the Gaea as well. Yeah, I think it relies on too many things happening. Well. Does have double Thoughtseize. Obviously doesn't do a whole lot in the face of a Leyline. They also mulligan to 6. No white mana is pretty tough. I think if we did keep this, we would probably bottom a land. We're definitely keeping the Bayou, so we could cast at least turn 1, turn 2, most likely. Probably the Cradle. The Dryad Arbor at least is a turn 2 play. The issue is that it doesn't have a real threat. And I think in this matchup, it's really about card quality, not card quantity. So I definitely don't mind going to 5. Like, I have seen Leyline in a few lists. This hand does nothing against Leyline. I kind of want to go down again. I don't think it does enough just on the ley lines. Perfect. There's Dryad Militant. We cast it off the plains, which is nice. Pretty happy to keep this and probably bottom the Noble and the Karakas. And then we just have access to Lush into Black Source the following turn. So keep bottom. Hey, F-Balls. Big fan. I'm very happy for you, especially as someone who loves pre-modern, that it's become an official format online on MTGO. I know people have been playing it, but I hope more people find your content because it's obviously very good. But yeah, I'd love to do some pre-modern content. I do really enjoy... I actually have 4 decks built. I have Goblins, I have Blue-Black Stifle Nord, I have Burn, and I have Green-White Terrageddon. I like Terrageddon. I think Terrageddon is very cool. And obviously, like, the Maverick in me does like a green creature. It's probably the closest thing to Knight the Reliquary. Yeah, soon. Soon, hopefully. Hope you're doing well. Okay. So with the once, they found an Elvish Spirit. What is happening here? Why is it highlighted like that? What is happening here? Oh, that's why. Revealed card. This can go in the graveyard. We already have one in hand. Back. Interesting. Feel like they might be on the initiative plan. Or just play Poxwalkers. Okay. Nice. Ooh, okay. I think here... So I have options. I have either we play the Hierarch and then next turn we can Bowmaster the Poxwalker. Or we can try to once into a land. I kind of like the thought of trying to once into a... Especially a fetch land. Nice. Verdant, play the Verdant. This also turns on Prismatic for 3, of course. Play the Ignobled. I don't want to lose this. We are just going to pass turn here. This makes me feel like they have another one. I like seeing the Chrome Mox because it's a great target for the Prismatic Ending. Okay. Land is pretty sweet because now we can just take out both their creatures, which I think might be better. that is fair, Abzan. That is very fair. Okay. Let us fetch. We're just gonna go get Scrubland. I don't think it really matters because we're not playing, say, Scavenging Ooze, so there's no need for all the green. Scrubland's cool. Green, black, white. I am just gonna get rid of this in case they do have a way to potentially like deal with the Dryad Militant, like a is it Fell from Profane? Like Ritual into Fell Profane is actually a great way to deal with the Dryad. Don't need to do anything just yet. We can also just hold the Bowmasters until end step, see if they attack or not. The other small thought is Goblin Charbelcher. That is a card to realistically think about as well. Pretty happy just going down to 12 here. Seeing if they play like another creature. No. Is this going to be Veil? No, format it. There's the Fell. Okay, interesting. They did have the Fell. Now we need another really good spell. That's a pretty good one. They have one card left. Okay. I assume we allow this and then just Endurance with everything on the stack. I mean, to be fair, we drew Endurance, so it's by that's fine. I should actually look as well. Have they board? Anything different? It doesn't really look like it. We don't see anything differently. They probably waited to see how we sideboarded. The reason I didn't wait for them to flash back was because of maybe the Poxwalkers coming back, and like, do they run bridge? I wasn't too sure if like letting them have value. Yeah, because they're on 0 cards, so I thought this was going to be okay. That's very true, yeah. But I thought potentially if I allow them to have the creatures back, like the Narcomoebas, and also the Poxwalkers, then maybe they did that way. Baloth here would be pretty sweet. Wastelands, probably relevant. Yeah, because they can cast Therapy, and then they can even Jack-O-Lantern potentially. Okay, nice. They obviously didn't draw one piece of the puzzle, so they know that 3 mana isn't going to get them there next turn. Obviously, lethal next turn as well. I don't mind the Force on the draw. I think the Prismatic's a little bit weak on the draw. Could just be this again. Nothing great turn 1. We do have potentially Thoughtseize or Deafening Silence. Pretty hard to throw this away when we do have, like, it's really only Endurance that is instant speed graveyard hate, and Endurance is the card they know about. It's the one they named in game 1 with Bile Therapy. We do have removal if they try to, like, just Undercity without the mana, try to untap with it. They did go to 6. The Safekeeper is also quite nice because it is a green card 4. Do they pay the 3? Don't. Okay. Deafening Silence typically buys us a turn because typically they have to. They don't always have to, but typically it buys us a turn to be able to deal with the Dread Return in the bin. I think I'm happier here to look at their hand than play the Deafening Silence. Just because, like, Spirit Guide. Yeah, so they actually have. If they draw another, oh, they have the mana. So I guess we take a mana and then just hope. Yeah, we take a mana and then hope they don't draw into a mana. Then we're able to swords the first one. Yeah, I guess. No, I guess I was going to say taking the pedal turns off the ability for them to get black and black for 2 things, but of course they can ritual into the ability off the land and then use some of that black for yeah, sadly not too much against Ouphe. Fast combo like that's obviously quite tough for our sort of deck, so we have a few cards that overlap, but nothing designated for it. Dryad Militant, I guess, but again, not specifically for Ouphe. I always find when it does that, typically means we're on the play. I feel like our opponent's typically on Delver, which obviously this hand is quite good against. Blade. Still pretty happy to keep this. And probably just lead on the Bayou. Fetches obviously have some nice value in Dryad Arbor, or potentially the Surveil Land. Prismatic most likely is going to be a control deck. Cameo. Pretty happy just to go for basics early on here, as if they are a back to basics deck, don't want to have to deal with that. Icetill's pretty cool. I also kind of like Verdant hold up Surveil and then just hold up Endurance. Now I'm missing a land drop. Very interesting. Okay. Pretty happy with that, and now we get a little bit of control over what we draw into next turn. Ooh, is this the one shot? Okay, cool. Very cool to see this card getting more legacy play. Obviously, Wasteland will be quite good. We can put that into the graveyard as well. Wasteland's still a fantastic draw. Do I want to deal with the Chief? I think I do here. The Forest means we can play the Endurance without tapping out off the dual lands, which is nice if we do want to like untap through or back basics. There were obviously the Force on the Endurance was interesting because it does mean they probably don't have a removal spell for Endurance. A little bit tricky here. I think I still have to cast the Endurance. Probably just target them. Could be a Murktide deck. I think Vigilance is quite strong with the Teferi. Maybe we can find some. Kind of. They have 5 cards. I don't want to fetch because of this, so I think we just want to try to get the Grist down first. Pitching back to basics. Okay, so are playing back to basics. I do want to play this now as well because of Teferi, of course. We will start with attacking the Teferi. Okay. See if we can find a wasteland here. No, but Bayou's pretty good as well. There's wasteland, okay. Hopefully, this Icetill can survive a turn. Hey Wham, thanks for the follow. Hope you're doing well. Let me know if you play Legacy. If you have a local scene. If you don't, what format you play, what you enjoy. You can get back the Brainstorm, that's fine. Be huge if we get to have 3 cards. Wow, okay. Well, that is the type of player that I like playing, because I don't think we were out of it, but obviously in a very good position. Okay. But here we obviously want to consider how much we want to respect back to basics. We do have one of each basic. We don't have a Qasali Primage effect. I really like the Thought Seizers. I like the Abrupt Decay. I like the Carpets. I like the Sylvan Library. I'm not a big fan of the Night Singular is okay. They are most likely a basic heavy deck, and so without Wasteland, these obviously aren't as great. The Cubs are great, especially at turning, say, mana dorks into actual threats. Baloth is fantastic. Collector Ouphe can go. I think we can probably go down on swords as well. High is definitely an interesting one, but we didn't see any 1-drops, which is pretty huge, so high is not probably where I want to be. Militant's pretty interesting, but again, not really that sort of deck. Endurances seem pretty good at just putting pressure on. Ice still seems fine, but not fantastic. Waiting for 7-point again? Nice. Yeah, 7-point should be sweet. I think it'll be the 7th is the first day back for 7-point. Very excited for it. It could just be like a mana dork, as we are bringing in 2 carpets. I don't want to have too much mana and nothing to do. Could just be a endurance. I think something like that is fine. Still have a lot of key 2-drops that are good threats. Okay. Pretty happy with this. Especially access to basics early on. We can accelerate. We have Teeg with Karakas. Karakas is also a great answer to the bird or the owl, so pretty happy to see where this goes. We do want to think about access to black though, because of Thoughtseize. Okay. Let's start with the ones. Okay. I don't mind the endurance. Let's think about this turn. Yeah, kind of. The Ignoble's also interesting. What am I thinking about? I'm thinking about back to basics. I'm thinking about obviously getting rid of these green suns until the Teeg is ready, before the Teeg is ready. But we also have Karakas our own Gaddock Teeg and then replay these and then play the Teeg, but that's late game, so I honestly could just see it being a land, and then we have access to both basics and a fetch for a black source. I feel like if Ignoble eats removal, I'm pretty happy with that as well. Let's actually do that. Let's go use this fetch for Bayou and then just play the... That way, if we lose the Ignobled, we still have access to black mana. Interesting. Not really play around the bird, so I'm just going to see if we can get a Baloth deck Really happy to get the Baloth and just start swinging. Let's have a quick look. Yeah, I think Baloth has. Hey Kogan, welcome. Not a big fan of your tech, but otherwise, hope you're doing well. Play Legacy. Let me know what you play. Baloth is also sweet because even if they play a Teferi and bounce it, it comes down next turn and just attacks back. Yeah. Very interesting. I kind of like just Karakas on there. Baloth. It'll trample over anyway. Just in case of back, we will fetch for that basic and use it straight away at the forest. They do draw a card. That's something to definitely think about. Probably a misplay. I don't want to play the Teeg because... But at the same time, I feel like Teeg, even though it's stopping 2 spells of ours, we can return it with Karakas if we really need to. And it stops everything from Prismatic Ending to Supreme Verdict to Wrath of the Skies to the One Ring. We can also do 6 here. The one thing about basics for them as well is that they can't replay this One Ching right now. Nothing left the field, so we're just going to pass back. They could have like a dress down, but that does turn off the Tamiyo as well. Moved on my Blue-Red Delver after a recent ban. Nice, Blue-Red Delver is obviously a pretty sweet deck right now. I played it last night at locals, and it was awesome. Especially with Cutter. Cutter is a very cool card to play around with. Makes you think a lot more about your baubles. The tap Karakas might mean they try to deal with the Teeg while the Karakas is tapped, which is quite nice for us because then we have like Green Sun did a Scythecat Cub to then grow what we want to grow. I also kind of like turn this to hand. See if they do anything. Play Green Suns for 1. They might just think it's for Exalted, but we're obviously getting Sylvan Safekeeper. Oh, they do have that fetch creature though. I think that's okay. At least that's a lot of card draw. I also tapped incorrectly because I can't replay the Teeg. I meant to tap the forest. It's interesting. Okay. We'll play this. Attack. Then they get the draw potentially off the Gaddock Teeg, but I think I think I just have to get the Teeg down. Oh wow. Maybe they have dress down. Wrath. I guess Wrath is kind of good because it just deals with the whole board. Interesting. Okay. Artifact, enchantment, and creature. So they keep the Tameo. That is fine. I think we want to do this. Then on Revolt. Rallier. Do a force up. Try. Yeah. Prismatic Ending, tough. It'll answer for. You could draw too. I think just in case of some like weird stifle effect, we just want to do this now while they're tapped out. We do. Grist was exiled, which is tough, so we can't even like endurance it back into our deck. We do have a Lush, so this is relevant. May as well just see what. No point attacking. Yeah. Do you want to see what their win con is? Set, interesting. I guess Gaea does deal with Tamiyo, which is kind of cool. Do like that. Dryad Militant's interesting even just as an early creature. Could be like 2 wastelands, honestly. I don't want to go down too low on wasteland. Like 21 lands plus the onces I think is okay. Okay. The ones can find a threat. We have turn 1 Thoughtseize. Start with the once and then Thoughtseize most likely off Rubland. What is this? How do I... Oh, is that just like the new way of how it's done? Interesting. I think we still take the Tamiyo even though we have an answer for it. So good. What about these? I definitely don't think it's dead. Especially with Blast being quite like Blast is quite relevant against blue red Delver. I Minsk is pretty strong. Would go for the Surveil land here, but I think we just want to go for basics of these two patches. Grist. Narset. Cool. Has been a while. We've also had a few players off the deck, which is fair enough. One thing we do need here is definitely a that's a threat. We can also use Carpet to play it, and then probably just Endurance us to get that Grist back into the deck. I do like the thought of that. Just means Green Suns is just that much better. Woods is fine. I feel like Endurance had its value, which is nice. That's pretty good. That's going to allow them to come back a little bit from that early mulligan and force. Kind of. Black. Here we just hold up swords and at it. I wouldn't mind a Wasteland here. Wasteland taking off them off the second blue is quite nice. Sadly, just not really getting a very like reactive part of our deck. But at least they don't have anything either. Yeah, it's a great point. If we wanted to, we could definitely make that a different color so that we could get yeah, that's actually a really good point. Get those extra chances of dealing with it in the same turn. I'm gonna force the brain. Oh, they have no brains. Keen-Eyed, okay. Still pretty happy to cast it. We'll eat the swords. I just don't want the Murktiding here before we actually get an chance to do anything. Here's the Prismatic. Still eat. Hey Meta, welcome. Hope you're doing well. Okay. Let's just add. Use that to once. Okay. Icetill is a threat of some kind. You can also play the other card. Maybe, yeah. Playing the other card is probably a little bit of overkill. I just wanted to be able to play this Icetill this turn. I can, of course, now just deal with both of these with the Wrath, but then that's one less Wrath that they actually have access to. Also a bit of a clock killer. Yeah, I was going to get the 4. Okay. It's probably the one just because it does buy more cards on ETB. Could also keep the Windswept, to be fair, in case of a I think these carpets are going to take a lot of time off me, which it might actually end up being the game. But I think holding the lane there is probably better with Scythecat Cub in the deck. Scythecat Cub, sorry. Yeah, like turn 12, 3 creatures. Definitely a downside of Mav is that you don't have that control over what you're going to draw. And to be fair, we did take a few out, so that's always going to be it. And there's this Scythecat Cub, which is probably still worth trying to play. Especially with the Talon Gates. I should know better. I should know how to use MTGO with that effect. I think here we just get the Dryad Arbor and start Dryad Arbor beats. Especially as a 2-2. Since you have the option to unyield before main, even if you accidentally click through. Yeah, very true. Okay. There's actually no real point of playing this Scythecat Cub. Not at all, no. I should definitely be better at knowing how these carpets work. Still know about Wrath of the Skies, Celestial Purge, and Tamiyo. Oaktide's pretty good. minor misstep. Nice. Did not have minor misstep on my. I assume here they want to Wrath and then play the. We can try to potentially in Silence. We're not too sure what we're getting. I believe we have one sword left. Tough. I think a good example of a game where you can sometimes sideboard, obviously in that case, more non-creature spells in, and then obviously taking out creatures means you do have that lower density. But hopefully here we can fight back. Not with this hand. Okay. I think here it's tough because I feel like on a mulligan you really have to be open to some of your wins, like where Collector Ouphe could be really strong, and that's more important than, say, an additional land. Opponent plays a bit of sneak. I could see it just being a land. We still have access to 3 mana here, all our colors, which is nice. And I think you're just going to be Bayou in gold. Once is pretty cool. Okay. I think it's just a fetch land. Then we get to go. Even Savannah into Ignobled allows us to not show the Karakas if they are sneak and still have a white source in play. Not too scared of it. I might as well play the Bowmaster here. It doesn't do anything, but just before they actually find anything is quite nice. What we probably want off the top is a Wasteland. Wasteland, take out the Volk as a red source. You have some control. Get him for 2. Play the Ouphe. We have Karakas as the card we put into play off Show and Tell. Okay. Well, they find another Show and Tell, but we do have pressure on board. Ah, thank you very much. We are currently 1, I believe. Appreciate that. We get to return to hand. Take them off their red, which it looks like they don't currently have access to. This could just be a Traxxer again to try to find like Omniscience and Show and Tell. They find a Sneak. Okay. They've used a Show and Tell already. Turn this, and then they have to discard 2. Okay. Can't really take them off red because of the fetch land. I don't think it's worth Prismatic Ending the... I think we might as well try to see if we can Prismatic a Sneak without red mana. But the issue is they have like Veil, and then obviously they can Brainstorm and the Bowmasters doesn't do anything. Ooh, but Seiju. We get a Dryad Arbor change things? It might. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Baloth off the top? No. Would have been cool. Oh my gosh. That was the most... I don't even want to talk. That is quite funny. Right, we like the Force of Vigors. We like the Thought Seizers. I like the Deafening Silence and the Path, especially for a Tractor. Maybe not the Path. Carpet and Libraries are pretty interesting. Prismatics can come out. The Endurances can come out. Gaddock Teeg is fine. Keen-Eyed can most likely come out. Ouphe does something. Safekeeper is interesting, but I feel like they would most likely have red removal, but they, yeah, they are playing red for sneak attack. I might go down on swords. I don't think swordsing their creatures is that great. Like maybe the path is just a little bit better. Maybe not. Could just be the Icetill. That could just be overkill. Give it nice low to the ground. Kind of like that. Obviously a Thoughtseize start would be really nice. Also gives us information about how to play out our turns. There's not great hands against Sneak. Sneak has always been a really tricky matchup. But if we think of the deck, Thoughtseize is obviously a great pickup. Like the Wastelands could be relevant, but they also just could be dead pretty much. I assume post board they're playing around Wasteland to some extent. I think there is a better 6. I think we really need a 1 mana spell like a Deafening Silence or a... No, but it does have the Bowmasters going for it. And it does have like Karakas through the night. So maybe we drop the Safekeeper here. Keep with the pressure in the double Exalted creatures. Yeah, and like Island into like City Show and Tell is always tricky. Strong. We don't draw a land here. I think we literally just go Lush, look for a land. Green Suns isn't the worst either because it does turn off, say, like a Sneak down the line, but Gaddock Teeg, maybe. No, I think it's just too slow. And I'm just going to Bowmaster now. While they're tapped out, so they can't like bring someone in response. I'll have to use the pedal if they want to. Interesting, they miss a land drop. Or they have another city. Okay, that is something. I'm going to start with that. Force is fine. Blocks, we will just put in another Bowmaster. Damage going. Hope it's enough. It can't be Omni. There is the Emrakul. I think we just run this back, honestly. Just hope like a Thoughtseize start comes our way. Buy some time, get some pressure. No Thalias and no Chokes definitely hurting this one. But I'm saying respect for using one white gene. Very nice. Right. On the play. Okay. Pretty happy with this. Gotta buy some time with the Thoughtseize. We have the library to dig as well. Bayou. Right, 2 lands, Show and Tell, Sneak. I'm gonna take the Atraxa. Pretty interesting hand. I think, chat, what do you think? But I think it's just take the Show and Tell. Next turn, Library, and then hopefully the next turn we get to take out the Sneak. Them getting the Sneak into play is pretty... Yeah, I think it's take the Show. Definitely a tricky one. Very challenging matchup. Definitely trying to get away from the thought of just saying bad matchup, ugh, and rather just saying I think challenging matchup is a better way to say it, because it is a good challenge. Like, stakes are definitely against us. I think now we do want to go with Ouphe and off the Lotus. And next turn potentially double spell. Okay. Fair play. Shuffles. Oh, they play the Boseiju. Okay. So we now do have Thoughtseize and potentially go after the hand, but I think Wasteland and Library here is better. Buying that turn. Load of green. Maybe for Veil? Thing? Another Lotus. Okay, that's good for us. Another threat here for 2 mana would be great. Can you imagine like a Scythecat Cub? Do find a bet. Let's go put this on top. Do want to fetch this turn, and I do want to kind of build up my mana as well. So let's go to play around Spell Pierce, just in case. Thoughtseize first. Had the Veil, but obviously nothing else. Okay. I think here we still take the Show and Tell. Leave them with the Sneak. Show getting in the Sneak is pretty tough, so Sneak. These 4 we know about. Now fetch down to 10. Savannah. This. Right, we got a clock. Brainstorm's pretty good. That pretty much means that Brainstorm locked. Okay. Knight is pretty great. Could also pay for this. I think I'm pretty happy to. Then we get to double spell. And I probably want to once first in case we find a wasteland. Try that. No. Do you find a fetch? Don't really need the fetch right now. 1, 2, 3. If knight sticks, it's 4, 5. Maybe it adds up. Still no red mana. Still no red mana. Okay, that's pretty good. Did we keep Safekeeper in the deck? We did. So green suns for Safekeeper is actually lethal. 1, 2, 5 is 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and then we still have the fetch land as well. The green suns would be lethal. I believe we took out Icetill, which is fine. Ooh, Renegade Rallier is kind of cool. Like double wasteland. Wow, okay. Put on top. Let's see if this one. Like this. Go and get wasteland. And Renegade Rallier. Oh, wasteland. Oh yes. Yes, please. Give me some of that. Nice. Back for 3. Lethal on board. Land. Who needs Icetill? Please. I mean, like, you know, City, Show and Tell, Omniscience. There's a lot of ways out of this as well. But thankfully we get there. The Collector Ouphe that could. The Collector Ouphe that could. Right. Love to see the double wasteland. Very nice there. And she does show that decks still do stumble a little bit. Like, Ouphe isn't the be-all and end-all, but them having a Lotus Petal in hand, drawing a Lotus Petal, obviously is pretty tricky when they were trying to get that sneak attack into play, or potentially go off a turn earlier. Here, obviously, the mana is just a little bit too rough, so we will mulligan this. Okay. Pretty happy to keep. I think it could just be the Renegade Rallier here. We don't currently have a way to turn it on, and everything else is pretty sweet. I do feel a little Lotus Petal. Well, that's very interesting they played that, because I was thinking Blue-Red Delver straight away. But obviously now it's most likely some sort of combo deck. which hopefully this endurance is good again. Really what we only have right now. Song. I actually saw this card for the first time the other day, and I thought it was some new blue mana creature called Endwalker. I had no idea it was. And I saw the artwork, and I thought it was like a 1 mana 1/1 that makes like an extra 1/1 for each mana you put into it. Might just be show and tell again. Yeah, I guess we put in the knight. There's no point putting in Karakas. We might as well just untap and play Karakas. Okay. What do they find? Find an Emrakul. Sneak. And a pedal. Now, so next turn, even if we take out the vault, they can still probably play the sneak and maybe even have another red source. Tricky. Hey, Desolutionist, thank you very much for the raid. Very much appreciate it. Hey, everyone coming in from Desolutionist channel, who's on Twitch. I typically stream pretty fair decks in Legacy, such as Maverick or Green White Depths, which is probably the less fair deck. I think here, like, it's just going to be... Collector Ouphe would be fantastic. Alright, so they chose Sneak Attack, Lotus Petal, Emrakul, Days, City Traders, Soccer. Play the Karakas. Try to play the Keen-Eyed. Okay. Back there, so we're definitely hitting the vault. I'm just not sure on when we're Karakasing. It's obviously tricky if they have multiple pedals. We most likely play a city or the Ancient Tomb. And once that, yeah, once Sneak Attack's in play, we don't really have a way out of it. Knight of Autumn's definitely a card I've thought about. Especially with like few decks having just a random artifact in the deck. Like obviously Cutter in Delver. Having an answer to Sneak Attack is pretty sweet. City. Okay. I don't really mind this unless they found Omniscient. There's nearly a world where green suns off the top is good enough. Goes Mountain, Force of Will, stock up. Okay. Play the Wasteland. Trigger the Icetill. Trying to think how much damage we can get through this turn. So if we Wasteland the City of Traders, 5/5. We play this from hand. Fetch 6/6. Keen-Eyed, I don't think we can make a big enough creature just yet. Karakas to Atraxa for sure, just because we are going to attack. But there is a world. Potentially the line is actually because okay, so because our opponent can definitely get down the sneak attack next turn. I think what we actually care about is the Karakas. And so what we want to do is Karakas the Atraxa and then Wasteland our own Atraxa to then replay the Karakas to have an open Karakas as well. I think that's more important than Wastelanding the city. I don't think colorless is something they're really stuck on. Pretty interesting. Let's try that. Let's go turn this to hand. Let's then Wasteland our own Karakas. Let's then go to combat first. So the knight's bigger. And play the Karakas. The issue is if they have another Lotus Petal. I guess it's an issue either way. Because they pretty much need 3 red sources. 1 for sneak, 1 for the creature to come in, and then 1 to put the creature back in after Karakas. Because if they have Emrakul, which they do, they go to combat, we have to Karakas it, and then just put it back in and then swing. But I think this helps us play around that extra red source. Maybe I was thinking too much about this, but I feel like having the Karakas open makes it harder for my opponent. Because they can also sneak in Atraxa and then dig for the extra red source off Lotus Petal. But it has to be actual factual Lotus Petal. Yeah. Do they find it? They do. Okay. They will go to 14 at least because they gain the life of the Atraxa. That's not the worst either. Beginning of combat, return this. Then end step this dies. We can also grow the Keen-Eyed. Settle. Oh wow, we have lethal. We have exactly 14 because this will be 7. We have the land for it as well. Yeah, the Karakas line works. It was 7, 8, 9, 14. This is still fine. Yes, because we get to pitch ourselves. Oh my gosh. Wow. So if we go, yeah, endurance, fast with Evoke, Rallier, and then target them, doesn't really matter. We can play the lane from the bin, but I will just play this Windswept Heath. Something else. Land. Creature, sorcery. Yeah, that still works. Because this will go down to 6, but this will go up to 17. So we eat endurance. We eat Sons. Land. We get a combat. Back with all. Very cool. Very cool. Nice. Okay. Very similar to last game. We like the Thoughtseizers, the Library, and the Force of Vigors, Deafening Silences. Probably the Path as well. Assurances. Karakas was MVP there. Really, really cool. Happy to take out at least a mana door, probably for the carpets. Renegades, Knights, Icetill, Cub. Keen-Eyed is still a great. Maddox. That's what we took out last time. I don't mind it, especially seeing that we have no more Deafening Silence, Wasteland if needed, and then Grist off Show and Tell and potentially get rid of a big fatty. I think if they lead on a non-creature land like this, I'm pretty happy to just Wasteland here. Wrath Cage is fine. Kradle is fine. Wasteland here also means that if they do potentially have like turn 2 Ancient Tomb into Show and Tell a creature, we have put in Grist and then untap, fetch for Dryad Arbor, and sack the Dryad Arbor to deal with the creature in play. No land. Very interesting. In that case, I'm tempted to go for Scrubland here, which would allow us to next turn Wasteland as well as like say play the Deafening Silence. I think here I'm happy to go for Thoughtseize first. Get some information. Okay. So we probably care about the show and tell here. Although, like, the Magus can just run away with the game if they draw into just like a City of Traders kind of effect. But I think we just have to play, like, we can't afford that. I think it has to be this. It is pretty interesting. The Force we don't care about. That's an easy one. The Sneak is obviously interesting. I think it is just the show. Okay. I will still play this out even though the Abrade is there. Because if next turn the Abrade isn't there, this can become a larger creature. Ooh, 2 blue. This. No, it must be a braid. Fully. I mean, now they're down the Lotus Petal as well. Nice. We'll play the Deafening Silence. Cool. And pretty happy to Wasteland as well. That. With Magus off the field. Sneak off the field. Next turn we have Grist. Then Renegade Rallier the next turn. Carpet's quite funny. Force. Detractor. Okay. Question is, can we just play this Rallier here? I think no. I think we need to get the value off it to get the Cub to have a real threat. I don't think 3 damage a turn for 6 turns is going to be enough. But potentially next turn we can see what happens. Oh, actually, Grafdigger's Cage stops the Rallier. I should have thought about that a little bit more. It doesn't stop a Wasteland. So let's start with attacking with the Hierarch. You have access to Bowmasters and also Path up. Might as well play this out. Bowmasters. A big thank you to all of you for coming and watching. I very much appreciate it. It is late, so sometimes I do get a little bit lenient with my plays, but I hope you enjoy it nevertheless. Correct. Very true. So We can hopefully get a Wasteland back potentially. Bowmaster. Look at this. Fetch probably just for Dryad Arbor. Does it increase the clock? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 instead of 1, 2, 5? No. Maybe actually Lush is better. Of course, Dryad Arbor gets stopped by the Grafdigger's Cage. Thank you very much. That's a great that can just go in the graveyard as well. Skip that. More than enough permanents as well to deal with, say, like an Emrakul, which is nice. But there are, like, thankfully the Deafening Silence also stops, like, Soul Land, Lotus Petal into something else, so nice. Very cool to finish 4-1. Going down to Jeskai, really blue-white control, which is definitely pretty tricky. We had some pretty cool matchups. We beat Show and Tell twice. Sneak times 2. Urza, we got up against like Forge, Jeskai, and Ouphe. Oh, it was 3-2. Damn, we lost to. We lose to Ouphe. Maybe we lost to Ouphe. Yeah, I think we did. Yeah, I think we did. Yeah, I believe we did. Yeah, the Dark Ritual off the top. That's right. Yeah, I think like obviously some pretty tough, definitely challenging matchups. I mean, like Sneak, blue-white control, and Ouphe are definitely not ones that I would like to play against, but pretty happy to take on the challenge. And then Forge, I think, is pretty interesting because obviously cards like Collector Ouphe and Gaddock Teeg are really good. So, yeah. A huge thank you to all of you for coming in and watching. A big thank you to the new followers and the new subscribers. If you are a fan of this content, definitely consider following the channel. I'm definitely trying to hit that 4,000 mark by the end of the year. So there might be a bit of a rush come to the end of next week. Do a few more streams. You can, of course, find all my content on YouTube as well as Dukes on Twitch. Yeah, that is going to be me. I'm going to see who else is streaming and send you over there. I do have a league going live soon as well with Take on Maverick by Hallow Newton. So I hope you enjoy that. Always enjoy Gaea. Send you their way. A big thank you again. We'll catch you next time.